Good morning, everybody. I'd like to begin today's meeting by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we are gathered and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. Welcome to the City Infrastructure Committee meeting of the 13th of June. I declare this meeting open at 9:33 a.m. I'd like to advise attendees in the room that this meeting is being webcast and audio recorded. We have 3 leave of absence today: Councillor Bradley, Councillor Power, Councillor Heremiah. Can I have a mover for? Thank you, Councillor Murphy. Seconded, Councillor Hall. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That's been carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Declarations of conflict of interest. I now refer to declarations of conflict of interest. Do any councillors wish to declare a conflict of interest against any of the reports on today's agenda? There being none, thank you very much. We'll be moving on to item 5.1. 5.1 is a confidential report, Logan Reserve Road to Waterford Tamborine Road Alignment Options Assessment. I've got Mr. Darryl Riley giving your representing. Thanks, Mr. Riley, if you can take over.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The report's a confidential report, so we would need to consider that aspect of the report first.
Do any councillors want to move into confidential? Do you want to move into confidential? No, I didn't move. Right. Thank you very much. We've got a mover for the report. You've got nothing further to say, Mr. Riley? Councillor Kerensky.
Madam Chair, I just wanted to say that as one of the councillors that this particular piece of infrastructure impacts, I feel that I'm satisfied I've been fully briefed with the officers and they've provided me with all of the relevant information that I require to make a decision today. So I'm satisfied that I've been fully informed.
Not a problem. Thank you very much. So we've got Councillor Bannon moving it. Do I have a seconder for the report? Councillor Hall. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Item 5.2, Bethania to Logan Village Rail Trail Preliminary Design. Mr. Riley, would you like to proceed?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The report in the agenda is in regards to the Bethania to Logan Village Rail Trail. It's a project which has been progressed jointly at this stage between Council and TMR in terms of funding. The project itself is part of a potential greater corridor from Bethania to Beaudesert. There has been a feasibility study previously presented to Council in 2022, and Council has done extensive engagement with the community to seek input for the design component of the project with Have Your Say surveys, engagement with community groups and stakeholders. Following from the input the Council was able to collect from all of the engagement and the information which was in the feasibility study, Council has progressed a preliminary design, which is included within the report for the information of councillors. That preliminary design has looked to take on the feedback that Council has actually received in regards to preparation of the project, and the detail of that is outlined within the report. I've come today to seek endorsement from Council to now take that preliminary design and engage with the community again to be able to inform them on what we've actually done in response to the feedback that we've actually received with them. We've had some more detailed design completed already, also in regards to bridges and structures within the corridor, plus looked at some of the amenity which would be essential for a project of this nature to proceed. With that, there has been some, I guess, change in the price potentially at that estimation stage, and we're also seeking Council's endorsement to go back to talk to the state in regards to how we may fund the project jointly going forward as well. I'm open for any questions that councillors might have.
Thank you. Councillor Kerensky.
With your indulgence, Madam Chair, I've got a couple if that's okay. Thank you very much, Darryl, for bringing this report back to Council. First of all, I'd just like to say I'm greatly appreciative that it's in the public domain, so thank you for enabling this to be presented publicly today. I'm just wanted to speak on 2 aspects, if I may. First of all, the broader project. I'm seeing that we're looking at some pop-ups around the place to provide in Logan Village and so on, residents with some updates on what's happening there. And I know they'll be greatly appreciative of that. And I also know that we've had quite a communication strategy, making sure that all residents on the route, and particularly the residents of Palm Lake, are kept up to date and informed. I wonder if you might make some commentary around how you've found that process and where to from here.
Through you, Madam Chair. It has been an extensive onslaught, I guess, we've had in regards to communications. We've certainly done direct engagements with community at multiple pop-ups, have your says, with stakeholders at numerous communities and with potential user groups for the facility and the likes. The overall engagement process we've been through on this project, I think I can say I can't recall another project in the transport space where we've done more engagement with the community to actually gather their information and their input into the project. I think it's also fair to say that that information has been very useful for us in the preparation of the preliminary design. It's actually helped us to, I guess, target those areas where we've had feedback and look to see what we can actually do to, I guess, address concerns or provide service that people have indicated was key for them in regards to the project. So I think it's been a very positive piece that we've engaged to the level we have, and that we've been able to take that information on board and utilise that in the process.
And certainly speaking myself with residents, and when I've attended the consultation sessions at Palm Lake, and when Palm Lake residents have spoken with me directly, the key factors that kept coming up as areas of concern for me, I'm pleased to see are addressed in this report. I wonder if you might speak just a little bit to the fencing, the electric gates, CCTV cameras and so on, those areas that were particularly of interest to the Palm Lake communities.
Through you, Madam Chair. So in preparing the design that we have, we certainly have looked at some of those aspects which may have been beyond our original scope, and certainly some of those things which may have normally felt to property owners to address. So certainly in terms of fencing against Crown land would normally fall to property owners. We did take on board the fact that we were changing the use profile of the corridor as part of the project, and we took on board the concerns that were expressed by some of those residents through that area, the same as we took on, I guess, feedback in regards to other aspects along the corridor as well. Certainly we're seeing a inclusion of CCTV along the corridor from that safety aspects as well, and tied out. Particularly Palm Lake's had some questions in regards to access across the corridor when we actually had the finished product in place. We have incorporated access across the corridor for residents in Palm Lakes as part of the project, including working significantly with Palm Lakes Resort themselves, who've been constructive to deal with over this matter, around actually providing access across at the driveway accesses are there, while still looking to control access from the corridor itself.
So in a nutshell, yes, we've found a solution working with Palm Lake themselves regarding fencing, CCTV cameras, screening and vegetation, because these were the hot topics that the residents were most concerned about, yeah?
They are all aspects which we've included in the preliminary design, and aspects when we go out to actually do further engagement with the community, we'll be able to actually talk to those specifically, but we have certainly included fencing, we've included the access across the corridor, we've included landscaping, etc., to try and mitigate some of those aspects which the community engaged with council over around their safety and security. So yes, there has certainly been a response within the design to those aspects which were raised, and predominantly those ones that you mentioned.
And just one last question, Madam Chair. I'd just like to acknowledge officers for all the hard work that they've done with regard to the Palm Lake communities of Waterford and Bethania, and hearing their concerns and being genuine in trying to alleviate those concerns. But I just wanted to ensure all residents who are impacted by the potential rail trail that we haven't forgotten about everyone else along the trail. So I wonder, Daryl, if you might speak to the balance of the trail and how we're progressing there.
So the balance of the trail is really the area probably south of Derry Creek Road. So if I talk to the corridor itself, it's more formalised north of Derry Creek Road, where we'd be providing a higher level of access for all purposes, with a hard surface in that regard. We're looking at a trailhead arrangement at Derry Creek Road to be able to facilitate access for other uses as well, other than just the rail station connection at Bethania. It will be a typically unsealed corridor south of that, providing for some greater use by alternative arrangements as well. Obviously, horse riding is one of the ones that's been on the cards for us and we've had feedback in regards to, so we've looked to facilitate that within that section of the corridor heading south as well. CCTV in those areas is an aspect we are yet to tie down. We've certainly allowed for that within the project. We will work with QPS and Council's own safety team to identify the most appropriate locations for those sorts of infrastructure, to try and promote that as well. And certainly we're looking to make connection back to the existing rail trail which runs from Logan Village out to Yarrabilba at the bottom end, providing a significantly greater overall connection.
Thank you, Daryl, and thank you for the briefings in the lead up to today. Thank you, Madam Chair. No further question.
Councillor Wilcox.
Thank you. Morning. This repeatedly comes up through this report that the project prelim estimate has seen an increase from the concept estimate, so it has gone up in price. Just wondering if you can talk to that. I'm assuming it's in the bridges, it's in the landscaping and embellishments, and it's in more than likely what we're going to be doing to secure the safety of the residents at Palm Lake, Bethania and Waterford resorts. Can you talk to that?
Through you, Madam Chair. Certainly, since the preliminary estimate that was put together with the feasibility report, which came to Council previously, taking on board the feedback which we've actually had from the community and looking at the project in more detail around the level of service which has been desired. There has been some change in that scope to facilitate those aspects. The other key item you also touched on was the bridge structures. So there was a preliminary expectation with the feasibility report that we would be able to utilise the existing timber structures with some change to the decking that was actually on those bridge structures. When we've actually engaged specialists to actually do detailed analysis on those bridge structures, it's become obvious that they're not structurally appropriate to be able to actually carry that level of load. To that extent, there has therefore been an escalation in our cost estimate to be able to provide that alternative access attached to that. It is outlined in the report that for some of those, due to the constrained nature of the corridor, we will have to replace those structures. For some of them, our intention would be to provide a lower level alternative access point adjacent to the existing structure, so we actually retain the existing timber structure so that it's got some amenity or visual appeal for users of the trail to be able to actually view those structures and see the history attached to that, which is obviously part of the desire of the rail trail as its entirety. The other aspect which we have alluded to in the report, which has had an impact on the original estimate, is the escalation in costs that we've seen in civil infrastructure prices in the last 12 months predominantly, and we've had to account for that within the report to keep Council informed.
So in the feasibility study, originally it was a $7 million project. It's now gone to $13 million. So we were 50-50, so $3.5 million each. So $13 million is now $6.5 million each. Is state government going to kick in?
At this point in time, as we requested in the report, we've asked Council to endorse for us to go back and talk to the state government in regards to the project and to seek their endorsement to continue with the project. We have not had that discussion with the state at this point.
Okay. And are you able to break it down with regards to the bridges, the embellishments, and what we're doing to provide safety for the residents of the Palm Lake resorts? Are you able to break it down into different components as to how much or why this is increased, basically double?
If yourself or any other councillors would like me to come and see them and run through that with them, I'm more than happy to do that.
I think that would be great, because I just would like to know, and then moving forward, if the state government isn't going to come to the party and they're not going to kick in half, what do we do then?
After we've had the opportunity to engage with the state, we would look to come back to council to run through the funding arrangements for the project. I envisage we would do that whether they are amenable or not amenable to that agreement. Obviously there is a commitment that we would be seeking from them, but there's also obviously costs for council associated with the project as well.
Thank you. And just one more question. With the cars navigating, because they do have, I think it's 3 pedestrian crossings in between both of the resorts. I think that's right, I'm not sure. 3 pedestrian crossings and then there's 1 car crossing. How do we make sure the safety of the rail trail users with cars actually navigating between 2 electronic gates?
So in terms of the crossing inside the area adjacent to the resorts, we will look at that treatment the same as we will look at the treatment where we actually have to make road crossings as well. So certainly at numerous road crossings like Derry Creek Road, Stegman Road, we're in a situation where we actually have people wanting to cross active roads. We will look to do treatments to make sure that it's the users of the facility are aware of those impending dangers and that they need to look to those. There is some layout within the plans which are attached to the report to show some of the treatments at those locations, but we would be looking to make that, I guess, a visual change within the corridor so that people are aware that their circumstances are potentially different and that they need to be aware of those things.
Thank you.
No other councillors have any questions we need? Pardon me. Councillor Raven.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'm happy to support the Divisional Councillor on this one, although I feel a little bit of deja vu, because when we sat in this room last time talking about this project, it was a request for out-of-budget sequence funding, and we're probably going to end up there again having to do a budget amendment depending on what the state wants to say. Is that right, Darryl? Because this can't wait till next year, obviously, if it's something Council wants to do.
At this stage, I could not commit to the fact that that would be a request that's coming. We would look at it in terms of our overall capital program and the funding that we have in our cycleway program, and we would come back to council to talk through what that might look like and what that impact may be. I really am not in a position to speculate that at this point in time. Okay. I would certainly need to do more work before I'd be able to talk about that.
Total deja vu. You said similar things to me last time. Thank you very much, Darryl. And if we're being creative about where we can find additional funding, that's amazing, and I applaud you for that. But yeah, nearly double is a big shift. And I get bridges are expensive. I'm assuming that that's where a lot of the burden comes from. But it's difficult to. I hope the state comes to the party. That makes it a lot easier. But it's difficult out of sequence to talk about budget and the impact to ratepayers without having the full budget in front of us.
Would any other councillors like to speak? No, that's no worries. Okay, so we've got a motion on the board to table the updated attachments. Can I have a mover? Thanks, Councillor Murphy. Seconded, Councillor Bannon. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That's been carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Next up, there will be a motion on the screen to accept the report. Has everyone read that? Councillor Karansky's moving it, Councillor Bannon seconding it. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That's been carried unanimously. Thank you very much. That ends the road infrastructure delivery program. Does anyone have a question for Mr. Riley? Nope. Okay. Thank you very much. Do you have any general business for us, Mr. Riley?
No, I don't. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thanks very much. Have a great day. Moving on to item 5.3 is statement of intent for footpath rehabilitation 2023-2024 and beyond. I'll now ask the Road Infrastructure Planning Manager, Mr. Kamal Ranawira, to join the discussion. He'll introduce the people with him. Take it away, Mr. Ranawira.
Good morning, councillors. On my left, Anthony, and on my right, Zach. They are going to talk to the details of the report. I'll introduce the report. The report is about footpaths. It's a It's about maintenance of the footpath, maintenance of footpath existing network. It's not about the new footpath. I just want to make that a distinction at this stage. The report presents a statement of intent and a program of works to attend to the defects in the footpaths network. The purpose of the is that identifying and attending to those defects in a systematic manner, we will manage and maintain our footpath asset, as well as we will minimize the risk to the public as well. This is I'm talking about trip hazards here. To put together the SOI, we went through a process, and it's a 4-step process. We actually categorize the defects. We detect the defects and identify the defects, and prioritize them into a program and come up with a map of defects in the footpath network. The defect categorization process is a standard process. It's about chipping, cracking, displacement of edge breaks or whatever. So there's a table in the report which actually outline what are those categories. Defect detection and identification is probably the most important matter here. Council used a unique Logan-specific and innovative solution here to identify and identify the defects. In 2020, councillors probably will remember, we built our own e-trike bike, and called Birdie, and it's fitted with 2 cameras to detect and take photographs of the footpath network. Birdie covered nearly 2,000 kilometers of footpaths, about 1,800, I think, footpaths, taking many, many images of our footpath network. All those images, or the photographs, then were processed to identify the defects using artificial intelligence and machine learning techniques. In the past, we relied on an operator to go through all the images and identify the cracks or whatever the defects, come up with the program at the end. That was a laborious process. We completely removed that laborious process this time. The AI and machine learning process was researched and established in collaboration with University of Queensland. This is a unique and innovative process to Logan, perhaps even for local councils in around Australia. In fact, other councils have registered their interest on this now with us. The third element of the process is the prioritization process. Along with the lines of standards, we considered 4 factors. Firstly, defects itself. Some defects are more prone to trip falls, like the displacements. So we gave high priority to them. Then we also considered the surface condition. If it is a smooth surface, of course, it need to be addressed. The proximity to various facilities is the other third element, and the last element was the hierarchy of the footpath on road, hierarchy of the road where the footpath lies. All those details are outlined in the report. I'm happy to talk to those details. We have a map of, we mapped all these footpath defects now. As a final note, I need to say we are reasonably confident of the defect detection using artificial intelligence, and we have done reasonable level of field investigations to give that confidence. We will improve the methods moving forward as well. So it's in a continuous improvement path. Thank you. Any questions here?
Thanks very much. Councillor Raven.
Thank you, Madam Chair. When I was reading this one last night, Kamal, you fully engineered it up. So I speed read my agendas and then I cut back when I see details. I reckon I got to paragraph 4 or 5 before I realised that you were using deep learning artificially intelligent robots to make our footpaths safer. Statement of intent for really cool, innovative ideas should have been the name of the report, so that when we looked at it, we all went, whoa, because this is really cool. Like this is something that if we did it manually, I imagine you've got somebody on Birdie or something equivalent who's driving along and taking photos manually, like pressing a button to take a photo and going, oh, yep, that looks pretty bad. Is that how we used to do it? Or,
We use quad bikes those days.
yep.
So, someone drives on the quad bikes and take photographs. That's what we do.
Manually.
Don't know whether manually, but no, I think it is still video.
Video. So it was video and you'd write over and then someone would have to go back and check them afterwards. That would have taken a while, hey? This is so much better. I love the methodology that you went into where you just gave the flick to people who don't know anything about Logan and made it Logan specific. So not only did you make something innovative, you made something Logan specific and you partnered with the university on it. That should have been like the first paragraph of this report so everyone could go, wow. But in true engineer style, you put the really cool stuff 3/4 of the way down the bottom and just talked about the statement of intent. So good work, but blow your own trumpet a bit louder next time, mate. It's well done.
Just for Councillor Raven's attention, we've been blowing Birdie's trumpet for some time now.
Not very loudly because I didn't hear it.
Again, ignorance is not an excuse. Okay, so does anyone else have any questions? Councillor Murphy.
Thank you, Councillor Lane and Madam Chair. I would just like to say you've been in the Division 12 area a lot, and I'd like to say thank you for that. So just as the footpath processing for 2022-2023, there was 18 projects and 14 of them were in Division 12. So I thank you for looking after our footpath network down in our area. It is an older network. It's been there for some time and there has been some issues. And I know that our community talks about the footpaths and how that they need to be maintained, and thank you for that. So 14 projects out of 18 were in Division 12, and we've got another 13 projects highlighted on your report as well. So I just wanted to get that on the record that they're out there and doing the work, and I thank you for that.
Thanks very much for that. I've got a couple of things on this. I really appreciate that the previous councillor put a lot of footpaths into my division, and some of those are lifting up, and you go along, you grind them back, you use the black topper to try and even it out, and we really appreciate that. With these new footpaths that are going in, are we looking at our disability compliance standards and actually putting curved arcs on the hard right and hard left corners so that people with mobility scooters and prams are able to get about the community a lot more easily? Has that been a consideration as part of this? Is it going to be?
I believe you're asking whether when we rehab the footpaths, whether we are including those things. I think it is mostly like to like, but if there is an issue, we will address that issue.
Thanks very much. We actually passed in the disability accessibility through the Lifestyle Committee. I think it was 2 committees ago, and I would assume that this would be part of it, that when we rehab a footpath and replacing it, we would look at people's accessibility as part of that and actually put that curved arc on the corners so that they can actually get around the community without falling off their scooters or, you know, prams tilting over. That would be magic. So if that's something you're going to consider as part of this, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Sorry, I think the detection method actually looked at that aspect as well. You probably can talk.
Yeah, it identified tactiles, which are used for disability kind of access, but we didn't necessarily identify any. Sorry, what's that?
Necessarily identify geometry.
Yeah,
which
correct,
is what Councillor
correct.
Lane is talking about.
Yep.
Geometry at
Yeah.
joins, at intersections, and at curves.
Yeah, that was not looked at specifically in the defect detection.
Yeah, if you could take that on board. We actually had one done on the corner of Wembley and Railway Parade where a gentleman, a double amputee, came off his mobility scooter, and RCM went in and put that curve in, and it's made a significant difference, not just to him, but to parents with prams taking their children to school. So we've actually got LIP funding that's going towards that in Division 2, but I'd love for the rehab program to take on that role as well, so that it's not costing quite as much to my local residents. Thank you. That being said, do I have a mover for the report? Councillor Murphy, seconded. Councillor Raven, all those in favour, please raise your hand. That's been carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Does anyone have any general business for the manager of road infrastructure delivery? Road infrastructure planning, sorry. Do you have any general business for us?
No, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Director, do you have any general business for us?
No, I do not.
Anyone have any general business for the Director? That being said, thank you very much. I declare the meeting of the City Infrastructure Committee closed at 10:03 a.m. Thank you very much.